In the world of One Piece, power is everything. From legendary pirates to fearsome marines and mysterious revolutionaries, the seas are filled with warriors who have shaped history with their strength. Over the course of the series, we have seen countless battles, shocking upsets, and dominant displays of power that prove just how strong some of these characters are. However, no matter how invincible they may seem, every warrior has a weakness, something that could be exploited in the right situation. This story will explore 16 of the strongest characters in the entire series, analyzing what makes them nearly unstoppable while uncovering the hidden flaws that could cost them everything in battle. From the rubber-bodied pirate Luffy to the all-powerful pirate king Gol D. Roger, from the fearsome Kaido to the calculating Blackbeard, each of these warriors has a unique fighting style, an overwhelming presence, and a key vulnerability. Before diving into the individual characters, it is important to understand what makes someone strong in One Piece. Strength isn't just about brute force, it's a combination of physical power, combat skill, strategy, and willpower. Many of the top fighters in the series possess one or more of the following attributes. Devil Fruit powers. These magical fruits grant users incredible abilities, from elemental control to enhanced physical prowess. However, they also come with the major drawback of making the user unable to swim. Haki, a mysterious power that allows its users to strengthen their attacks, sense opponents' presence, and even negate Devil Fruit abilities. It is a crucial skill that separates the strongest from the weak. Physical prowess. Some fighters rely purely on their physical abilities, such as strength, endurance, and speed, rather than special powers. Characters like Garp and Zoro are prime examples. Combat experience. Many of the strongest figures have years of battle experience, allowing them to predict their enemies' moves and exploit weaknesses in ways that less experienced fighters cannot. Tactical intelligence. Being able to analyze the battlefield, predict an opponent's actions, and set traps is a huge advantage. Fighters like Blackbeard and Law excel at this. Despite having some or all of these traits, even the most powerful characters have flaws, whether it's an over-reliance on a certain ability, an emotional vulnerability, or a reckless fighting style. This makes battles in One Piece more exciting and unpredictable, as even the seemingly invincible can fall when faced with the right opponent. The world of One Piece is ruled by various factions, each of which boasts extremely powerful individuals. Among them, the most fearsome are the Yonko, 4 emperors, the 4 most powerful pirates who dominate the New World. They include legends like Shanks, Kaido, Big Mom, and Blackbeard. The Marines and Admirals, the strongest force of the world government, led by the Admirals, who wield devastating abilities. The Revolutionary Army, a secretive group led by Monkey D. Dragon, whose strength remains shrouded in mystery. The Worst Generation, a group of young, ambitious pirates, including Luffy, Law, and Kid, who have shaken the world order. Each of these groups has warriors who can stand toe-to-toe with the best. However, even the mightiest can be defeated if their weaknesses are properly exploited. Throughout this story, we will take an in-depth look at 16 of the strongest characters in One Piece and uncover their hidden vulnerabilities. We will start with Monkey D. Luffy, the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates and one of the most promising young pirates in the world. From there, we will analyze legendary figures like Garp, Blackbeard, Kaido, Shanks, and Whitebeard, examining how their strengths define them and how their weaknesses could lead to their downfall. This journey will reveal that no character is truly invincible, not even the Pirate King himself. There is always a flaw waiting to be exploited, a crack in the armor that could change the outcome of a battle. Understanding these weaknesses is key to appreciating the depth of One Piece's world-building and the complexity of its battles. Now, let's begin with our first character, Monkey D. Luffy. Monkey D. Luffy, the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates, is one of the most powerful characters in the world of One Piece. Over the years, he has grown into a formidable pirate, defeating warlords, emperors, and marines alike. His Gomu Gomu no Mi, later revealed to be the Hito Hito no Mi, model, Nika, grants him extraordinary abilities, allowing him to stretch his body like rubber and unlock powerful transformations. Combined with his mastery of Haki, especially Conqueror's Haki, Luffy has proven himself to be a worthy contender for the title of Pirate King. However, despite his immense strength, Luffy is far from invincible. Like all great warriors, he has weaknesses, flaws that can be exploited by cunning opponents. Two of his biggest weaknesses are his high energy consumption, which causes him to tire quickly, his extreme gullibility, making him easy to trick. These flaws have nearly cost him his life on multiple occasions, and if not for his allies, Luffy could have been defeated or even captured far earlier in his journey. Let's examine these weaknesses in depth. Luffy's greatest strength is also one of his biggest weaknesses. His fighting style consumes a massive amount of energy. While his rubber body grants him incredible resilience, his reliance on high-speed movement, transformation-based techniques, and powerful attacks means that he burns through stamina much faster than the average fighter. Luffy often pushes himself beyond his limits in battle. His Gear 2nd, Gear 3rd, and Gear 4th transformations significantly boost his power, but they also come at a steep cost. Gear 2nd. By pumping his blood at high speed, Luffy gains incredible speed and strength, but it wears out his body quickly, leaving him exhausted after prolonged use. Gear 3rd expands his bones to giant proportions, increasing his attack power, but it used to shrink him to a tiny form as a side effect before he mastered it. Gear 4th, one of his strongest transformations, but it consumes so much energy that Luffy can only maintain it for a limited time before being completely drained. Gear 5th, his ultimate transformation grants Luffy godlike power, but it also rapidly burns through his stamina, meaning he can't maintain it indefinitely. Once he reaches his limit, Luffy collapses from exhaustion, becoming completely vulnerable. This was seen multiple times throughout the series. Against Rob Lucci, Enies Lobby, after an intense battle, Luffy was completely unable to move once his energy ran out. If not for Usopp encouraging him to get up, he would have lost. Against Doflamingo, Dressrosa, after exhausting Gear 4th, Luffy needed 10 minutes to recover, leaving him wide open to attacks. His allies had to protect him. Against Katakuri, Whole Cake Island, Luffy repeatedly ran out of energy during their fight, forcing him to take breaks and eat food to replenish his stamina. Against Kaido, Wano, using Gear 5th allowed him to fight Kaido at an unimaginable level, but it drained him so much that he nearly died multiple times. One of the most ridiculous consequences of Luffy's exhaustion is his grandpa form. This happens when he overuses Gear 5th, causing him to rapidly age into a frail, elderly-looking version of himself. In this state, he is weak and sluggish, unable to use his powers properly, completely vulnerable to enemy attacks. This was evident in his final fight with Kaido, where after pushing himself too far, he collapsed into an old man state and needed time to recover before he could fight again. Unlike physical injuries, which Luffy can recover from fairly quickly thanks to his endurance, stamina depletion is much harder to deal with. Without food, rest, or an ally to protect him, Luffy is left completely helpless when he runs out of energy. If an enemy strategically stalls for time, they can easily outlast him and strike when he is too tired to fight back. While Luffy is a brilliant fighter, he is far from being a strategic genius. His simple-minded and trusting nature makes him highly susceptible to deception, allowing enemies to manipulate him with ease. Luffy has fallen for obvious tricks multiple times throughout the series. Buggy the Clown, Impel Down. Buggy constantly lied to Luffy and manipulated him during their escape, taking advantage of Luffy's gullibility. Whiskey Peak Incident. Luffy trusted the people of Whiskey Peak, believing they were friendly, when in reality, they were bounty hunters planning to kill him in his sleep. Crocodile Schemes, Alabasta. Luffy initially had no idea how deceptive Crocodile was and didn't realize the full extent of his plan until much later. Big Mom's Trap, Whole Cake Island. Luffy was too trusting of Pudding, unaware that she was deceiving them until Sanji figured it out. Kaido's Trick, Wano. Kaido pretended to be injured by Luffy's attack, only to get back up and knock Luffy out with a single blow. Luffy's lack of caution has placed him in life-threatening situations more than once. His trusting nature is admirable but also a huge liability in a world full of schemers and liars. Another major issue with Luffy's gullibility is that he blindly trusts people, even when he shouldn't. While this has worked in his favor at times, such as recruiting good-hearted crewmates, it has also almost gotten him killed. For example, he believed Robin was safe in Enies Lobby, not realizing she had been forced into captivity. Trusted Boa Hancock immediately, even though she was initially hostile toward him. Allowed Caesar Clown to trick him multiple times, despite knowing he was untrustworthy. This flaw means that manipulative villains can easily take advantage of him. If an enemy sets the right kind of trap, Luffy will likely fall right into it without hesitation. While Luffy has overcome many of his weaknesses through sheer determination, they still remain a significant problem in battle. If a strong enough opponent exhausts him by dragging the fight out, tricks him into an ambush or deceptive situation, then even Luffy could be defeated. His greatest strength is his fighting spirit, but if he cannot outlast his enemy or recognize a trap, he could find himself in serious danger. Luffy is without a doubt one of the strongest characters in One Piece, but he is far from perfect. His tendency to burn out quickly in battle and his naive, trusting nature make him vulnerable to strategic opponents. While his overwhelming strength often allows him to compensate for these flaws, they are still his Achilles heel, the cracks in his armor that could one day lead to his downfall. His journey is far from over, and as he continues to grow stronger, he will need to find ways to overcome his biggest weaknesses, or risk losing everything when he finally faces his greatest challenge. Monkey D. Garp, also known as Garp the Fist, is one of the most legendary figures in the world of One Piece. As a Vice Admiral of the Marines, he was instrumental in shaping history, battling against some of the most fearsome pirates, including Gold D. Roger, Whitebeard, and the Rocks Pirates. His raw strength, combat experience, and mastery of Haki make him one of the most formidable warriors ever seen. Despite his incredible power, Garp is not invincible. His greatest weakness is not something physical, it is his heart. More than anything, Garp cares deeply about his loved ones, and this makes him vulnerable. He has been known to rush into danger without thinking whenever someone close to him is in trouble, and this trait has been exploited multiple times. Garp's sense of duty as a Marine often conflicts with his love for his family, and this emotional struggle has left him powerless in crucial moments. In some cases, his enemies have used this against him, making his compassion the one thing that weakens an otherwise unstoppable warrior. Unlike many other top-tier warriors, Garp is not a ruthless, cold-blooded fighter. He has a strong moral code and values people over power. While this makes him an admirable figure, it also means that he can be manipulated through those he loves. 1. His love for his grandson, Luffy. Garp's biggest emotional conflict revolves around Monkey D. Luffy, his grandson. As a Marine, he should consider Luffy an enemy, but as a grandfather, he cannot bear to harm him. This internal struggle has repeatedly put him in difficult situations. During the Marineford War, Garp was placed in a position where he had to fight against Luffy, who was trying to save Ace. Despite his duty as a Marine, he hesitated when facing Luffy. When Luffy punched him to get past him and reach the execution platform, Garp let himself be hit, knowing he couldn't bring himself to stop his grandson. If he had been willing to fight seriously, Luffy would have never gotten past him. Even before Marineford, Garp refused to capture Luffy on multiple occasions, despite knowing he was a wanted criminal. His love for Luffy always outweighed his duty. Garp's inability to separate his personal feelings from his responsibilities means that if someone wanted to exploit him, they could simply target Luffy to force Garp into submission. 2. His devotion to Ace and the Marineford incident. Garp's love for Portgas d'Ace, another of his grandsons, raised as his own despite being Roger's son, was another major weakness that led to his downfall in Marineford. Even though Ace was sentenced to death by the world government, Garp did not want to see him die. During the war, he was forced to stand by as Ace was about to be executed, causing him immense emotional turmoil. When Ace was killed by Admiral Akainu, Garp completely lost his composure, needing to be held back by Sengo to prevent him from attacking a fellow Marine. At that moment, Garp's rage and grief overtook his normally calm and powerful nature. His love for Ace clouded his judgment, making him reckless and emotionally unstable. If Sengo had not stopped him, he might have fought against the Marines, potentially being killed or losing everything he had worked for. His attachment to his allies and friends. Garp's kindness is not limited to his family. He has a deep sense of loyalty and care for his comrades, which has also been used against him. The rescue of Koby, Hashinosu incident. When the Blackbeard pirates kidnapped Koby, Garp immediately rushed to save him, despite the overwhelming danger. He did not form a solid plan but instead launched a full attack against multiple Titanic captains on Blackbeard's island. Impalement by Shiryu, During the rescue mission, Garp was severely wounded by Shiryu, who took advantage of Garp's selflessness. Rather than protecting himself, Garp prioritized saving Koby, leaving himself open to attack. His history with Goldie Roger. Despite being enemies, Garp had mutual respect for Roger. Roger entrusted Garp with Ace's life, and Garp accepted, even though it went against Marine ideals. This sense of honor put him at odds with his own people. Garp's tendency to value others over himself makes him predictable in battle. An intelligent enemy can use this against him, knowing that he will always sacrifice himself for his loved ones. Garp is an incredibly powerful warrior, but his love for others is a strategic liability. If an enemy wants to neutralize Garp, they do not need to fight him directly, they can simply threaten someone he cares about. Here's how Garp's weakness could be exploited. Taking hostages. As seen in the Koby rescue, if an enemy kidnaps one of Garp's allies, he will act recklessly and walk into a trap. Baiting him into a fight, Garp will immediately charge into battle if someone he loves is in danger, even if the situation is unwinnable. Forcing him into a moral dilemma. If Garp is forced to choose between duty and family, his hesitation could cost him everything, just as it did in Marineford. Garp's selflessness, while admirable, is ultimately his greatest flaw. Garp is a perfect example of the balance between strength and emotion in One Piece. While characters like Akainu or Kaido prioritize power and ruthlessness, Garp values love and morality. This contrast makes Garp one of the most human and relatable characters in the series. However, it also means that he cannot be as ruthless as other top-tier warriors. Unlike Akainu, who would execute anyone for the sake of absolute justice, Garp's conscience holds him back, preventing him from going all out against those he loves. This is why, despite being one of the strongest Marines in history, he was never promoted to admiral. He refused to follow orders blindly, always prioritizing his own sense of justice over the world government's demands. Monkey D. Garp is a legend, a warrior whose strength rivals that of even the most fearsome pirates. However, his greatest weakness lies not in his physical abilities but in his heart. His love for his family, allies, and friends makes him vulnerable, as he will always put them before himself. This weakness has been exploited multiple times, from Marineford to Hashinosu, and it remains a crucial flaw that could one day lead to his downfall. Despite his immense power, Garp is ultimately a man ruled by his emotions, and in a world where strength often comes at the cost of compassion, that makes him vulnerable. His legacy will always be one of strength, honor, and love, but also one of sacrifice and heartbreak. Marshall D. Teach, better known as Blackbeard, is one of the most dangerous and unpredictable characters in One Piece. He is a man who rose from being an unknown member of the Whitebeard Pirates to becoming one of the four emperors, Yonko, all through cunning, betrayal, and sheer opportunism. His ambitions know no bounds. He has stolen powerful devil fruits, assembled a crew of ruthless criminals, and positioned himself as one of the greatest threats to the world. Blackbeard's Yami Yami no Mi, darkness fruit, grants him the ability to control darkness and absorb anything, making him a terrifying force. On top of that, he also possesses the Gura Gura no Mi, quake fruit, formerly belonging to Whitebeard, giving him the power to create massive earthquakes. With two of the strongest devil fruits at his disposal, Blackbeard has established himself as a near-invincible force. However, even he is not without weaknesses. Despite his immense power, Blackbeard has two major flaws that can be exploited. His devil fruit doesn't protect him from physical attacks. He is overconfident and reckless, often underestimating his opponents. These weaknesses have nearly cost him his life on multiple occasions and could be the key to his downfall. At first glance, the Yami Yami no Mi appears to be one of the strongest Logia-type devil fruits in existence. Unlike other Logia users who can transform into their element and avoid physical attacks, like Aokiji's Ice or Kizaru's Light, Blackbeard's fruit works differently. The Yami Yami no Mi drawback, absorbing pain. Instead of making him intangible, the Yami Yami no Mi actually increases the damage he takes from attacks. Blackbeard himself explained this weakness when fighting Ace. He cannot phase through attacks. Unlike other Logia users, he must physically take hits instead of avoiding them. He absorbs pain more than a normal person. Whenever he is attacked, he feels the pain more intensely, making him more vulnerable than the average fighter. This was evident during several fights. Against Ace, Banaro Island Fight. Ace hit Blackbeard with Heiken, Fire Fist, and instead of avoiding it like a typical Logia user, Blackbeard had to endure the full force of the attack. He screamed in pain, showcasing how much damage he takes from direct hits. Against Whitebeard, Marineford War, Blackbeard arrogantly thought he could take Whitebeard's final attack, but Whitebeard smashed him with a powerful Quake Punch, making him cry out in agony. Unlike other Logia users who could have dodged, Blackbeard was helpless against the physical attack. Against Luffy, Amazon Lily Arc, mentioned by Boa Hancock. Boa Hancock noted that Blackbeard is not invincible and can still be harmed like a regular human. This further confirmed that despite his overwhelming Devil Fruit power, he is still highly susceptible to physical damage. This weakness makes Blackbeard unique among Logia users. While he gains tremendous offensive abilities, he loses the natural defensive advantage that other Logia wielders enjoy. A fighter with strong Haki and powerful physical attacks could take advantage of this flaw and overwhelm him. Perhaps an even greater weakness than his Devil Fruit flaw is Blackbeard's own personality. He is known for being reckless, overconfident, and sometimes careless, often underestimating his enemies and placing himself in unnecessary danger. 1. Blackbeard's reckless behavior. Throughout his rise to power, Blackbeard has taken several extreme risks that could have easily led to his downfall. Traveling the Grand Line on a wooden raft. Unlike most pirates who seek powerful ships, Blackbeard casually sailed through one of the most dangerous seas on a simple wooden raft, showing zero concern for safety. His raft was completely destroyed when he attempted to follow Luffy on a knock-up stream, a reckless move that should have killed him. Attacking Marineford during the war. Blackbeard arrived in the middle of the Marineford War without proper preparation. He expected things to go smoothly but was nearly killed by Whitebeard's final attack before his crew intervened. Underestimating Magellan, Impel Down. Blackbeard foolishly walked into Impel Down without any precautions, believing his power would protect him. He was instantly defeated by Magellan's poison, nearly dying on the spot. If not for Shiryu providing an antidote, Blackbeard's journey would have ended there. This recklessness shows that Blackbeard often fails to consider consequences when making decisions. His impulsiveness could one day lead him into a battle that he cannot win. 2. Blackbeard's overconfidence. Blackbeard strongly believes in fate, thinking he is destined for greatness. This belief has made him overconfident, causing him to let his guard down in dangerous situations. Against Whitebeard. Blackbeard taunted Whitebeard, thinking he had already won. However, Whitebeard counterattacked with full force, nearly crushing Blackbeard to death. This moment proved that Blackbeard's arrogance almost cost him everything. Against Boa Hancock. Blackbeard underestimated Boa Hancock, believing that he could easily capture her. She nearly turned his crew to stone, and if Rayleigh had not arrived, Blackbeard might have suffered a severe loss. Against Law, New World Fight. Blackbeard thought he could easily defeat Law due to his superior power. However, Law put up a much stronger fight than expected, proving that Blackbeard's overconfidence can backfire. Blackbeard often assumes victory too soon, which could lead to his downfall if he faces an opponent who catches him off guard. While Blackbeard is one of the strongest characters in One Piece, his flaws make him far from unbeatable. If an opponent strategically exploits his weaknesses, he can be defeated. 1. A fighter who focuses on pure physical attacks. Since Blackbeard's Yami Yami no Mi does not protect him from damage, a fighter like Garp, Zoro, or Luffy, who specializes in overwhelming physical attacks, could brutalize him in battle. 2. A tactical opponent who exploits his recklessness. A highly intelligent fighter like Shanks, Sengo, or Dragon could set a trap for Blackbeard, luring him into a situation where his overconfidence backfires. 3. Someone who uses his own methods against him. Blackbeard betrayed Whitebeard, Teach, and the world government for his own gain. If someone betrays him first, Blackbeard's entire empire could collapse. Blackbeard is a terrifying force, but he is far from invincible. His two major weaknesses, his inability to avoid physical attacks and his reckless overconfidence, make him vulnerable to the right opponent. While he has climbed to the top through cunning and brute force, these flaws could one day lead to his downfall. If he continues to underestimate his enemies, he may eventually find himself in a battle where his luck finally runs out. Kaido of the Beasts is one of the most feared figures in the One Piece world. He is a member of the Four Emperors, Yonko, and is often referred to as the strongest creature in the world. His physical strength is nearly unmatched. His Uo no Mi model, Seiryu, dragon fruit, grants him the ability to transform into a massive, nearly invincible dragon, and his mastery of Haki allows him to battle the strongest warriors without breaking a sweat. Kaido has proven his dominance time and again, defeating Luffy multiple times, crushing the 9 red scabbards, and even battling against Big Mom for days without tiring. However, even a monstrous warrior like Kaido has weaknesses that can be exploited by a cunning opponent. His 2 biggest weaknesses are his recklessness, which has led to him being captured multiple times by the Marines. His drinking habits, which make him emotionally unstable and leave him vulnerable in battle. These flaws have shaped Kaido's history, making him both an unstoppable force and his own worst enemy. Kaido is known for his reckless and self-destructive behavior. Unlike other emperors who carefully guard their power, Kaido actively seeks out dangerous battles without any regard for the consequences. This impulsive nature has led to one of the most bizarre records in One Piece history. Kaido has been captured by the Marines a staggering 18 times. How did the Marines capture Kaido so many times? Normally, the Marines avoid direct confrontations with Yonko, as these battles would cause immense destruction and loss of life. However, Kaido is not like other Yonko. He actively puts himself in situations where he can be captured. It is speculated that Kaido deliberately sought out strong opponents, including legendary Marines like Garp, Sengo, and Admiral Zephyr. Each time, he was overpowered, restrained, and taken into custody. The Marines even experimented on him, trying to understand his near-immortal body, but each time, he managed to escape. Despite his incredible power, Kaido's recklessness has cost him his freedom multiple times. If an enemy could manipulate this destructive tendency, they could lure him into a battle he cannot win. Example, Kaido's recklessness at Marineford. During the Marineford War, Kaido attempted to charge in and fight Whitebeard, despite the overwhelming presence of the Marines, admirals, and Whitebeard's entire crew. If Shanks hadn't intercepted him, Kaido could have faced a battle he wasn't prepared for, potentially leading to another capture. Kaido's lack of strategic thinking is a major flaw. Unlike Shanks or Blackbeard, who carefully choose their battles, Kaido throws himself into combat without considering the consequences. This recklessness means that with the right plan, he can be tricked into a fight where he is at a disadvantage. Kaido is known for his love of alcohol, and while it fuels his fearsome reputation, it is also one of his greatest weaknesses. Alcohol makes Kaido emotionally unstable. When he drinks, he switches between different moods, sometimes cheerful, sometimes depressed, sometimes filled with rage. His drinking has led to poor decision-making and unexpected vulnerabilities in battle. Unlike other Yonko who maintain a calm, controlled presence, Kaido lets his emotions dictate his actions, making him predictable in certain situations. Example, his fight with Luffy in Wano. When Luffy first confronted Kaido, the Emperor was completely drunk, making him sluggish and careless. Luffy managed to land a powerful hit, something that might not have been possible if Kaido had been sober. However, Kaido quickly sobered up and defeated Luffy in one strike, proving that his unpredictability is a weakness that can be exploited. Kaido's drinking habit means that an opponent who can manipulate his emotional state could gain a major advantage. By provoking him while he's drunk, they could force him into reckless actions or catch him off guard before he regains control. Shanks is one of the most enigmatic characters in One Piece. Despite being one of the Four Emperors, he is vastly different from Kaido and Blackbeard. Rather than ruling through fear or brute strength, Shanks values respect, friendship, and diplomacy. His strength is unquestionable. He has mastered Haki to an unparalleled level, stopping admirals and instantly ending battles with a single attack. However, Shanks has a major flaw that could be used against him. He deeply loves his crew and will do anything to protect them. Shanks' soft spot for his crew makes him hesitate. Unlike Kaido, who does not care about his subordinates, Shanks is deeply attached to his men. This was evident in his brief fight against Eustace Kid. When Shanks used his observation Haki, he foresaw Kid destroying his fleet. He immediately became terrified and rushed in to stop Kid, eliminating him in one attack. This moment revealed that Shanks is emotionally affected by threats to his crew. If an enemy exploited this, they could force Shanks into a difficult position, making him prioritize his crew's safety over his own battle strategy. Whitebeard, known as the strongest man in the world, was a true monster in battle. His Gura Gura no Mi, Quake Fruit, allowed him to shatter entire islands, and his Haki was powerful enough to clash with Gol D. Roger. However, Whitebeard's greatest strength, his love for his crew, was also his biggest weakness. Whitebeard viewed every member of his crew as his child, making him emotionally vulnerable. How Whitebeard's love for his crew was exploited. The betrayal of Marshal D. Teach, Blackbeard. Whitebeard's refusal to believe one of his own sons could betray him led to Teach stealing the Yami Yami no Mi. This blind trust in his crew cost him dearly, as he let a dangerous traitor operate under his nose. The Marineford War. Whitebeard threw away everything to rescue Ace, despite knowing it was a trap. His emotional attachment clouded his judgment, making him vulnerable to attacks from the Marines and Blackbeard's forces. Sakazuki, Akainu, exploited this weakness by provoking Ace, causing Whitebeard to lose focus and allow his son to walk into death. Whitebeard's greatest flaw was his inability to make ruthless decisions when it came to his crew. His enemies used this against him, leading to his downfall at Marineford. Despite being some of the strongest characters in One Piece, Kaido, Shanks, and Whitebeard all had major weaknesses. Kaido's recklessness and drinking habits make him an easy target for manipulation. Shanks' love for his crew means he will always prioritize their safety, making him hesitate in battle. Whitebeard's devotion to his family blinded him to betrayal and ultimately led to his death. Even the strongest warriors are vulnerable when their emotions take control. These weaknesses are what make One Piece's battles unpredictable, proving that even the most powerful figures can fall when faced with the right strategy. Charlotte Linlin, better known as Big Mom, is one of the 4 emperors, Yonko, and among the most powerful pirates in the world. With her immense physical strength, her Soru Soru no Mi, Soul Fruit, and her indestructible body, she is nearly unstoppable. She has crushed powerful enemies, ruled Whole Cake Island with absolute authority, and established one of the most fearsome pirate crews in history. However, despite her overwhelming power, Big Mom has weaknesses that can be exploited. Her 2 biggest weaknesses are her extreme obsession with food, which can cause her to lose control. Her deep emotional attachment to a picture of Mother Carmel, which leaves her vulnerable. One of Big Mom's most notorious traits is her insatiable hunger for specific foods. If she craves a particular dish and does not get it, she enters a violent, uncontrollable rampage known as a hunger pangs episode. In this state, Big Mom is not in control of her actions. She destroys everything around her in search of the food she desires. She ignores all logic and reason, making her extremely predictable. She becomes physically weaker and more exhausted the longer the hunger rampage continues. Example, Hunger Rampage in Whole Cake Island. During the Whole Cake Island arc, Big Mom went into a berserk state when she did not receive the wedding cake she was craving. She destroyed entire sections of her own island, attacked her own crew, including Perospero and Katakuri, lost focus in battle, allowing the Straw Hats to escape. Had an enemy been able to prolong this state, Big Mom could have been taken down much more easily. A lesser-known but extremely dangerous weakness of Big Mom is her emotional attachment to a single photograph, a picture of Mother Carmel, the nun who raised her as a child. Big Mom worships this picture as if it were sacred. If it is damaged or destroyed, she experiences a psychological breakdown. During this breakdown, she becomes completely vulnerable to attacks. Example, Bage's assassination attempt. During the Tea Party, Capone Bage devised a plan to shatter Big Mom's picture of Mother Carmel in order to incapacitate her. The plan worked. When the picture was destroyed, Big Mom froze in place, letting out an ear-piercing scream that left her completely defenseless. If Bage had been able to follow through, they could have successfully killed her at that moment. Big Mom's emotional instability makes her an unpredictable fighter. A well-planned strategy that exploits her weaknesses could bring her down, despite her immense strength. Roronoa Zoro is the swordsman of the Straw Hat Pirates and one of the strongest fighters in the crew. With his 3-sword style, Santoryu, his incredible endurance, and his mastery of Haki, He is capable of fighting some of the most powerful enemies in the world. However, Zoro has a ridiculous and often comical weakness: his terrible sense of direction. Zoro gets lost easily, even when given simple directions. He can wander off for hours or even days without realizing it. In a battle that requires strategic positioning, he could easily end up in the wrong place. Example: Lost in Enies Lobby. During the Enies Lobby arc, Zoro took a wrong turn inside a government facility, getting separated from the crew. Had to be guided by Sogeking, Usopp, and Sanji just to stay on track. If an enemy used this flaw against him, they could lead him into a trap or simply delay him long enough for his allies to be overwhelmed. Sanji, the cook of the Straw Hat Pirates, is known for his incredible combat abilities, particularly his powerful leg-based fighting style. However, Sanji has a major flaw that puts him at a serious disadvantage. He refuses to fight women under any circumstances. Even if his life is in danger, he will not attack a female opponent. Example: Sanji vs. Khalifa, Enies Lobby. When Sanji faced Khalifa of CP9, he let her beat him without fighting back. He could have won easily, but his principles made him lose the battle. This means that if an enemy uses a strong female fighter against him, Sanji is at a serious disadvantage. Gol D. Roger, the Pirate King, was the strongest pirate of his era. He conquered the Grand Line, discovered the One Piece, and became a legendary figure. His strength was on par with Whitebeard's, and his crew included some of the most powerful fighters of all time. However, even Roger had weaknesses. His two biggest flaws were: he never ran from a fight, even when outnumbered. He survived certain battles purely due to luck. Unlike some pirates who avoid unnecessary battles, Roger always chose to fight, no matter how dangerous the situation. This recklessness put him in battles he could have avoided. It led to unnecessary risks that could have ended his journey prematurely. Example: the Ed War against Shiki. One of Roger's most famous battles was the Ed War, where he faced Shiki the Golden Lion. Shiki's fleet outnumbered Roger's crew massively. Instead of escaping, Roger chose to fight against impossible odds. By sheer luck, a sudden storm destroyed Shiki's fleet, allowing Roger to win. Without that stroke of luck, Roger would have been completely defeated. Despite his overwhelming strength, Roger was not invincible. Some of his greatest victories happened due to unexpected circumstances, rather than pure skill. The Ed War was a battle he should have lost, but nature intervened. His final journey was only possible because of his allies, not just his own power. If Roger had ever faced an enemy who truly exploited his recklessness, he might have met his downfall much earlier. Even the strongest characters in One Piece have flaws that can be exploited. Big Mom's obsession with food and her Mother Carmel picture make her emotionally unstable and vulnerable. Zoro's terrible sense of direction means he can be easily misled or delayed in battle. Sanji's refusal to fight women puts him at a disadvantage against female opponents. Roger's inability to run from fights led him into dangerous battles that he only survived due to luck. These weaknesses make battles in One Piece unpredictable, proving that even legends can be defeated if their flaws are exposed.